This show is produced by the Harwood Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris, and we love making this show available to you free of charge. If you'd like to help us keep it that way, make a contribution to our Karma Jar or become a show sponsor. To learn more, visit our website. Today I've made up a batch of these delicious oatmeal cream scones, and along with it, some of my faux clotted cream. You know, scones and cream go together beautifully, but it's not always easy to get clotted cream where people live, so this is a great substitute that I've come up with. You can serve these scones with jam, marmalade, or even curd. I'm going to begin by making just a light oat and brown sugar streusel topping to put on top of our scones. So in a small bowl, I'm going to get 2 tablespoons of oats, and these are a quick cooking oats. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and do make sure that you press it down into the measuring spoon. I'm going to take my whisk, I'm going to break up that brown sugar into the oats. And now I have 2 tablespoons of butter, and with my pastry blender, I'm going to cut that butter into the oats and brown sugar. And when it gets caught like this, I just push it off with my fingers and keep cutting away. And you'll see the butter cuts in beautifully and we get this nice chunky streusel. I'm going to set this to the side. And now in a medium-sized bowl, we're actually going to put our scones together. So I have my flour. I'm going to measure out 1.5 cups of flour using my dip and level method, along with 1/2 cup of my oats, 1/3 cup of brown sugar, 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now again, I'm going to take my whisk and I'm going to combine all those dry ingredients together, and you do want to make sure that you break up that brown sugar. It has a tendency to want to clump together on you, but we want to make sure to get that sugar all throughout the scones. Now I have 1/4 cup of butter, and I'm going to cut it in half lengthwise twice and cut it into some little cubes and break that up and pop that into the bowl with the flour. And again, I'll take my pastry blender and I'm going to cut that butter in. You're going to keep cutting that butter in until the butter starts to get almost pea size. That's always a good rule of thumb when you're cutting in butter. When the butter starts to look like these little pieces, then you're good to go. Now here's where the cream comes in. You can either use 1/2 and 1/2 or a heavy cream. Today I'm using 1/2 and 1/2. I'm going to measure out 1/2 cup. Now if you don't have access to 1/2 and 1/2 or heavy cream, you could probably use a whole milk and it would be fine. And to the cream, I'm going to add 1 egg. And with a fork, I'm going to carefully mix that up. I want to make sure to get that yolk broken and mixed into the cream, because when we make scones, we don't like to knead the dough too much. So I want to get the egg mixed up really well before I put it into the flour. Now I'm going to take the cream and the egg and pour that into my bowl. And with my spatula, I'm going to lightly toss this together. I just want that cream and egg to start to moisten the flour. And you're going to start to see it come together, and we're going to stop mixing it with the spatula. And now on my board, I'm going to sprinkle out a little flour, and I'm going to turn this out. Now you're going to see there's still a bit of loose flour on top, but that is okay. And I'm going to take my hands, I'm just going to pull this together. And I'm just going to knead it very gently just a couple of times. Now I have a baking sheet with a piece of parchment. I'm going to take my scone dough, I'm just going to place it right in the center. And then with my hand, I'm going to press it out to an 8-inch circle. And then I'm going to go back and get my streusel topping. I'm going to sprinkle that on the top. And I do want to make sure to get this all the way out to the edges as best I can. And then I'm going to lightly press that down into the scones. Now we're going to bake these, and I've preheated the oven to 400 degrees, and I'll pop these in for about 15 minutes and they'll get a nice golden brown. Now while the scones are cooling, I'm going to make my faux clotted cream. Now in the UK you get this wonderful thick Devonshire clotted cream, and it's really tricky to get here where I live in the United States. So what I do is I make my own kind of cream that goes great with scones. Now I use my mixer. You could also use a hand mixer. And I'm going to put in 3 ounces of cream cheese and 1 tablespoon of sugar, and I'm going to mix this together until the sugar and the cream cheese come together. Now with the mixer on a low speed, I'm just going to put a dash of vanilla, and I'm going to slowly drizzle in 1 cup of a heavy cream. And once the cream is in, I'm going to turn the speed up to a medium, and then to a high speed. And after about a minute or so, I'm going to stop the mixer, and I'm going to take my spatula. I'm going to scrape down the sides because sometimes some of that cream cheese kind of gets flung to the side. And then I'm going to let this spin for another couple minutes. Now you can see the cream gets really, really thick like this, and that's what I want. And then I'm going to take and put it into a little bowl to serve. Now the cream cheese really acts as a stabilizer for the heavy cream, so this isn't going to fall or start to liquefy. In fact, you could cover this up and store it in the refrigerator for a couple of days easily, and you'll still be able to spread it on your scones. And now I'm going to take the scones, they're still warm, and slide it off the cooling rack, and then I have a large knife, and I'm going to cut these just into some wedges. Now what I like to do is I take the scones and I just put it onto a pretty tea plate like this, and then I have the faux clotted cream, and you could either use curd or jam, or today a friend brought me a jar of this great Meyer lemon marmalade, so I'm really excited to try that. And I'll just take and put a dollop of the cream right here on my plate, along with a dollop of the Meyer lemon marmalade and a little spreading knife, and this is ready to eat. So delicious. Now remember, this is not a clotted cream like you would get in the UK, but it's the best substitute that I can make here in the US. Now if you'd like to try these oatmeal cream scones and the faux clotted cream, just go to our website and go to the Come for Tea show notes, and I'll have the recipes for both there for you. Also, if you do make them, don't forget to take a photo and send it to me. That way I can send you the scone badge and the faux clotted cream badge. Make sure to join us on Facebook, and as always, if you have any questions or ideas for me, please send me an email. I'll see you next time.